Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Goblet of Fire, Chapter 21, The House Elf Liberation Front.
May I just say, right out of the gate, that the House Elf Liberation Front it's so funny because we were talking a lot in the past couple of chapters about how it's like the first task and the Hungarian Horntail, and how like the Hungarian Horntail is like almost spoilery because it like gives you so much information, but then it would also just simply be a better chapter title for chapter 20, the first task, but then you've got like the naming convention of the first task, second task, third task. And I will say that somebody wrote in and they said that a really good alliterative title for chapter 19, the Hungarian Horntail, would have been Hagrid's Hint.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Right? Isn't that great?
That would have been great.
I was like, wow, okay, good, listener at home. You totally came up with a better thing than the person who wrote the book. But so when it comes to chapter 21, the House Elf Liberation Front is really funny because it is a single throwaway line from none other than Ronald Weasley.
I know.
Inside of this chapter. It is not at all the function of the chapter. It's like, what's next? The House Elf Liberation Front?
Yeah, it like has nothing really to do. I mean, they go talk to the house elves and Hermione brings up some spew stuff. Like I like, because it's the title, I'm like, is this a joke? Like, is the joke supposed to be like, this is clearly what Hermione should have called it or something?
Yes, that's exactly what I came up with, because I was like, this is so much better than spew, because the acronym would be HELF.
HELF.
Which is almost like help elf.
Yeah.
Like health.
HELF.
And
elf is even in there then. Yes.
Yes, the House Elf Liberation Front, HELF.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so much better.
The health.
Yeah, the health.
Yeah.
Versus, and this is probably part of like what's so bad about SPEW is that it's like the Society for the Protection of Elfish Welfare.
Promotion.
The Society for the Promotion
of Elfish Welfare.
Elfish Welfare versus the House Elf Liberation Front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So ridiculous. But anyway, so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever noticed that before. It feels like something you would only pick up on if you're looking at the chapter and like underlining the first letter from each word.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, health, that's better.
The health. Yeah.
But then let's see here. The other thing is that for our chapter art, we have the portrait of kind of like the bowl of fruit, which is one of those details that I always confuse with the prefix bathroom, which also happens in this book.
Yes.
Because that's like the code word is like pine fresh.
Pine fresh.
Which I don't know why. It's like, because you're tickling a pear, which has nothing to do with like pine, but then like I think of like lemon fresh, and I'm like merging all these like weird things in my brain like into one
secret entrance to a place.
One secret entrance, yeah. But then even furthermore is that like it's in the direction of like the Hufflepuff's common room, and like Cedric is from Hufflepuff,
right?
And he's the one to like.
There's a lot of reasons why you might confuse the two things.
Right. Yeah. They're like similarly coded.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
anyway.
I do like the chapter art. They're way better than the last chapter.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Can we just even break that one across the coals just a little bit more? Because it's literally Harry reaching out and catching a dictionary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
Like,
so,
he fights a dragon in this chapter,
he
right?
fights a dragon. Someone's a broomstick. There's a golden egg. And instead, you give us two hands receiving a dictionary as it's thrust through the air. Whatever. No big deal.
No big deal.
I'm not salty about it.
Not at all. Anyway, we get to see the giant portrait of the fruit, Hermione tickling the pear, super fun. And you actually get to see all three of the main characters like together in one chapter art, which is also kind of cool.
Yes.
You don't normally you don't get like good depictions of them all together very often inside the books. So there we go. Anyway, let's kick off with our lovely first sentence, which is a really, really good one this time, as per our tradition.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Harry, Ron, and Hermione went up to the Owlery that evening to find Pigwidgeon so that Harry could send Sirius a letter telling him that he managed to get past his dragon unscathed. And then the dragons arrived. It's like, it sounds like the setup for every joke in every sitcom ever, where it's just like, oh, at least this didn't happen. It happened.
It happened. Yeah, yep. You're exactly right. It's like, we got past the dragon unscathed, and then they arrived.
And then they arrived.
Oh, dang it.
Oh man, I just sent the letter.
Right. Right away though, I feel like you can just highlight that first sentence though as well, because you've got Harry, Ron, and Hermione all together in the same sentence.
Yes.
It's like, okay, it's like, like old times.
We're back.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like, there's a bunch of scenes like that in this chapter where it's just like, just immediately, just best buds again.
I know.
Yeah,
it's
good.
like we're back at it. We're back at it.
Yes.
And I love how Ron has like totally done like the pendulum swing thing, where it's like he went from like being so anti-Harry and like ignoring him and not talking to him at all, and now he's like full blown back in like best friend mode, and like just firing on all cylinders.
Right. Need to support Harry at every single turn. We are best friends and I was wrong.
Yes. And I have learned my lesson.
Exactly.
So yeah, Harry's filling Ron in on everything that Sirius had told him about Karkaroff, and Ron just immediately is like, fits, doesn't it? Like, remember what Malfoy was saying on the train about his dad being friends with Karkaroff? Now we know where they knew each other.
Yep. So they were probably running around in masks together at the World Cup, which is not true. That is just Malfoy. Karkaroff was not one of the people under the masks.
Yes, and the big detail there is that Karkaroff actually fears the Death Eaters in a, like, I mean, it's not even really similar to the way that like Slughorn is avoiding them, but like Karkaroff threw so many of them under the bus that he is now just as much at risk, if not more, from the Death Eaters as the Gen Pop is.
Yeah, it's more similar to like the way Peter Pettigrew was afraid of the Death Eaters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you fed Voldemort information about about James and Lily that led to his downfall. It's like, we thought you were on our side, but clearly you were on their side.
Exactly. Yes. Peter was hated by everyone.
Right. Yeah. Because it looks pretty bad.
It does. It absolutely does. Yeah.
For him. And then, Karkaroff named names and got some of his cohorts thrown in jail. So they don't like him very much either. So I don't think he was there at the World Cup hanging about.
Yeah. So then we've got, kind of and it's funny to try to like dissect it from what we know with hindsight, but it says, Harry, if it was Karkaroff who put your name in the goblet, he's going to feel really stupid now, isn't he? It didn't work, did it? You only got a scratch. And so like the idea of it being Karkaroff, like I think Harry was the one who points it out when he's like talking to Sirius, because he's like, he's a pretty good actor if you put my name in, because he seemed really mad about it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so strange, because you could make the exact same argument about how like Moody, it's like, he's actively helping Harry along the way.
Right.
And so it's like, to be any more suspicious of Moody would seem just as ridiculous. And it would suggest that like Moody's putting on a performance. So it's like, if Karkaroff was really mad, he could have just been putting on a performance.
Right.
So it's like, you can't totally rule it out, but I feel like for some reason people, or even like myself included on first pass, I would have been much more suspicious of Ludo Bagman. Like, I mean,
Ludo Bagman is, he seems like the one. Karkaroff almost seems like he's an obvious like red herring. Like, it's so like, he's so obviously who you'd be looking at as to like clearly not be the answer.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. And I think even if you still got like a twinge of like Gilderoy Lockhart in the back of your mind, like I feel like Ludo and Gilderoy like have certain isms about them.
They're a little self-centered. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, Ludo's not necessarily like a fraud, but he's like also got like this other issue beneath the surface that like nobody really knows about. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I also like, I think Ron's reasoning here though is also like not that great. He says, if it was Karkaroff who put your name, he's going to be feeling really stupid now because it didn't work. And it's like, but there was only, there's still two left.
Yeah.
Like, there's still plenty of time. And like maybe Ron doesn't know this yet, but like, Karkaroff didn't even know what the task was until a few days beforehand,
right?
Like 2 days beforehand. So it's like, if he like at this point, what they think the plan is like Karkaroff put his name in to try and kill Harry without even knowing by what means he might get killed.
Exactly. Or even just to suggest, I mean, Harry hasn't even made it halfway through the tournament yet. There's plenty of opportunities still left to die.
Yes, exactly. So I think, you might even think like doing it in the first task. I mean, why, that'd be too obvious or something. Who knows? Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we get a little line here that I feel like is possible set up for some of like Ron's Quidditch acumen, because what they're doing is going to the Owlery so that Harry can write Sirius a letter. And it says that Ron snatched Pigwidgeon out of the air and held him still while Harry attached the letter to his leg. And like, I feel like Pigwidgeon is even described as like a little like fluffy snitch.
Yeah.
Like he's
zooming around.
Exactly. Just like zip zap zorping everywhere. So I was like, is this seeker instincts that's going on with Ron? Or like, is this just like maybe set up for him being like a keeper in the future? Or is it literally just him being helpful?
I mean, hard to say. I mean, certainly you'd think the plan for Ron to be on the team would already sort of be like laid out and like outlined some,
right?
If you're writing the books, and then I guess it could be there, but otherwise, I mean, he's also just dealt with Pigwidgeon a lot longer than Harry.
So maybe he's just got like a knack for it.
Yeah, just like get over here. I know what you're gonna do.
Yeah, a little bit of muscle memory.
Yeah. Let's see. But then he makes another claim where he says, "There's no way the other tasks are going to be as dangerous. How could they be?" It's like.
It's like, what else could go wrong?
What else? They're like, Ron, why would you say that out loud? That's ridiculous. I would say the dragon seems more dangerous than the lake, but maybe even, I don't know, maybe even more than the maze. But sadly, there's more to the maze than meets the eye. In terms of the port key.
In terms of the port key, and also we just don't know how much of the potential blockades that Harry has just like eliminated for him by Moody.
Yeah.
Because it's possible there was a lot more stuff he was supposed to run into, and like Moody can't make a Sphinx go away, but maybe he can like eliminate like other hexes and spells and jinxes and
That's
stuff
true.
That he was supposed to go through.
So yeah, maybe the maze would have been more dangerous.
Could have been.
Although I guess you say it like, at least with the dragons though, like they had people who train dragons or monitor, study dragons on the side, ready to step in if something like bad was about to happen.
Yeah.
But like in the lake, it's not like they have other wizards like down there swimming around,
or divers
or something. Yeah. It's not like there's not even like the mer people. They're not like just like swimming along, like ensuring safety of some kind.
Right.
And in the meantime, there's just like wild creatures that they can't account for down there.
A giant squid.
Yeah, a giant squid. Ziggling-dillos. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I guess if you like, if the bubblehead charm like popped or something, you'd be in pretty dire straits all of a sudden.
I mean, it's very much like whenever you're like watching anything like in space, it's like it's so quickly to underestimate like the dangers of just space itself.
Yeah.
So quickly. But yeah, I mean, the water, very dangerous. Even like scuba diving, like with like proper safety equipment and everything, it's like there is risk involved with it. Yeah. So I mean, being deep underwater could certainly have its challenges rather quickly. Let's see here. I do love Ron chiming in though. He's like, you know what? I reckon you could win this tournament, Harry. Oh, I'm serious.
Aww.
He's coming around so quick.
Coming along. It's like, I think you got it. You're basically tied for first, and you probably should have been ahead, except Karkaroff was point shaving for Crumb.
Right.
So,
yeah,
he should be winning there.
Yep.
But
then Hermione, like again, she sort of has like these like weird like little isms in this book where I feel like she is the one who actually understands the point of the Triwizard Tournament, and she understands like international cooperation and all those types of things. And she has been like helping Harry so much and like wanting him and Ron to be friends again. And here's Ron being like, I think you could win this thing. And then Hermione is immediately like, Harry's got a long way to go before he finishes this tournament, she said seriously. And it's like, I mean, maybe I'm reading it in a tone that makes it sound like a little bit more condescending, or doubtful, but I'm sort of like, is like Hermione at all like a little bit jealous of like the fact that like Harry and Ron are just like immediately just like back to old chum.
Right. She has to like sort of fall into her like old role of like being more the realist instead of trying to like lift Harry up all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe she's just relieved to be like, I get to be me again.
I know. I do think it's funny. She says, if that was the first task, I hate to think what's coming next. And hilariously, what's coming next is that Ron and Hermione get kidnapped. It's like, yes, you would hate to think of what's coming next.
Right. It's like, not only will Harry have to go deep in the lake, so will you.
It turns out so will you somehow. Look at that. All three main characters were involved.
Did we mention that there are no safety swimmers?
There are no safety swimmers.
Yeah.
Actually, they're probably safer than the champ. Certainly they are. nothing's going to happen to them.
Right.
But then Ron's not having it. It's a right little ray of sunshine on you. You and Professor Trelawney should get together sometimes, which like, as if.
If there's two less likely people to have at your tea party together than Hermione and Professor Trelawney, then it's probably Professor Trelawney and McGonagall.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that they're doing this like immediately post first task. Like before they even go back to the common room, Harry has left the task and they've gone straight to the owlry to write this letter.
Yes.
It wasn't like, no need to change or anything like that. I'm going right there, right now.
Right now.
Because got to give time to for people back in the common room to like plan the party.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's actually it's the polite thing to do, really.
Yeah, really.
But I do love that Harry does go to extraordinary lengths to he describes all of the swerves, circlings, and dodges of the Horntail to Sirius. The blow-by-blow account.
Exactly. I love it's like, Harry, what are you gonna? You've just won the first round of the Triwizard Tournament. What are you gonna do now? And he's like, I'm gonna write a letter, a really long one.
Yeah,
to the library, and then the owlry. But then Ron says, Fred and George should have nicked enough food from the kitchens by now. And I'm like, oh yeah, boy, just in case you remember, when Harry's name came out of the goblet, they pulled the same thing, and they came back with so many chips and nuts.
Yeah, peanuts and crisps.
I know. I'm like, you think they got more?
Yeah,
like a couple bowls this time.
Right, this time there were mountains of cakes and flagons of pumpkin juice and butter beer on every surface.
Okay, though, let's stop on the butter beer.
Okay, let's stop on that.
Okay, because like it is Lupin brings Harry butter beer at some point. And he's like, you won't have had it before, right? Like, it doesn't sound like butterbeer is something served at Hogwarts.
Okay.
At all.
Right.
Right? So why is there butterbeer in the kitchens? Like, why do they have it down there?
I don't know, but we know that Winky's, she's throwing them back. She's kicking back a few a day. Yeah.
But like clearly they have some because Fred and George just went to the kitchen and got some. But why do they have it if they don't send it to the tables?
Maybe, Jay.
Yeah.
Maybe the house elves are the only ones willing to drink with Dumbledore.
Yeah. Dumbledore is like, you know what? We better have some on hand. Right. Just in case.
I can see him like sitting down there in the kitchen on like an upturned bucket. And he's like, now I can't give any of you clothes. However, who'd fancy a drink?
Who fancies a drink? Dobby?
Where's my boy Dobbit?
Exactly. Dobby shows up and Dumbledore's like, I will pay you to have a drink with me. And Dobby's like, whoa. Let's calm it down. I'll take, you take 90% off that and make me work a little bit more.
And I'll do it.
You know what? I'll give my drinks to Winky. How does that sound?
How's
Are
that
we
sound?
good? We good?
Have we reached an accord?
We've reached an accord.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Winky will be too drunk to drink with you. Sorry.
Poor Dumbledore.
Can't even pay someone. Can't even pay Dobby to drink with him.
Yep, it's too bad.
My goodness.
But then it says Lee Jordan had let off some filibuster fireworks, so the air was thick of stars and sparks. And I was like, is this just okay? Like,
I know.
Is it safe?
Right?
Like, it's like inside of the common room, they're setting off fireworks.
Well, I'm thinking of like in Order of the Phoenix when they set off like the Weasleys whiz-bang whizzes or whatever, and they're just like sort of floating around like the rest of the school for the rest of the day.
Right.
Or they're like, so I'm assuming it's similar to that where like they're letting off the fireworks and they're continuing to go off for a long time.
It sounds so magical.
It does.
Like, I feel like I would really enjoy this particular aspect of the wizarding world.
Oh yeah, fireworks sound like way cooler when they don't, sputter out after like 30 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's really fun. Then we have a line here that says Dean Thomas, who was very good at drawing, had put up some impressive new banners, most of which depicted Harry zooming around the Horntail's head on his firebolt, though a couple showed Cedric with his head on fire, which that's just kind of hilarious. But also this brings me back to a comment that a listener wrote in after we did the Prisoner of Azkaban chapter on the Boggart closet, and Dean's Boggart is a severed hand. And this was like one of the details that like comes up a lot is that like Dean is quite good at drawing.
Yes.
And so the severed hand being his worst fear could be this idea of like losing his ability to like express himself.
Oh my gosh. I actually really buy into that
right?
immediately.
Isn't that awesome?
That is a great comment. Also, he must be great at it because, well, I mean, I guess Harry had time to, write a lengthy letter and go to the Owlry and mail it. But Dean, it sounds like he's had about as much time as the end of the first task to draw several impressive new banners.
Yeah, this is what's really funny about the people at Hogwarts is that like such a momentous occasion ends and they are on cloud 9 and Harry's like, "Where's my quill?"
Yeah,
and then Dean Thomas is over there like, "Where are my colored pencils?"
Yes.
Everybody's like, "I need to celebrate the only way I know how."
Exactly. I'm gonna go draw. Which I mean, it sounds like he churns them out. I wonder if you can like draw with your wand. Like if you have the image in your mind, is it a matter of just like?
That would be so cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
I still think I'd be terrible at drawing.
That's the thing. I thought so too.
Yeah.
Yes. That I'd be like, I can see. It's like then the skill becomes like, how well can you like transfer your brain into your like wand or something?
I know. I forget what the term is, but there's like some people who can't make pictures in their brain, but I think there's like a gradient as to like, if you were to like say like imagine an apple inside of your head. I feel like my version of an apple is like semi-translucent. Like it's like I can't really look at it carefully, but like I know what an apple looks like if I think about it.
Yeah. And yeah. But to me, I almost like it's very interesting to think like how that would work if that's how the magic works. But like at the same rate, drawing and painting and like art feel like the kind of things that would fall under the category of music in the wizarding world, where there's, like it's more magical than anything they teach there.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like if
I kind of love that.
Yeah. Like if you're painting or something, then that is still something that is its own kind of magic.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, I love that. So it's almost like, is there even an incantation or is it just sort of like this like life's mystery of like what you impose into your artwork is just sort of like, it takes like a life of its own. And then we know that that's what paintings in the wizarding world do.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Like as you paint, does your magic come through in your creation, and that's what like helps it come to life and stuff.
Right.
Ooh, that's interesting, because then it would make like the artist so much more tied to the finished like personality of the portrait almost.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never really considered that.
Who is doing the headmaster's portraits?
No, that seems important.
It seems like somebody we need to know.
Yeah, but then the way the portraits work is that like after the portrait is made, you, the subject, can teach that portrait about yourself so that it can continue to act more and more like you. Or at least that's how they do it for the headmaster ones.
Right.
So
yeah,
presumably Dumbledore's up late at night just like, listen here, portrait.
Right.
Yeah. Here's how to act kind of kooky, but like still be in control of everything.
That's right. And Fred and George are like, yeah, he's just pacing in his office again. But it's like you fast forward to like his office and he's just like, another thing about me, my favorite flavor of jam, raspberry.
Yes, indeed. But so they get up there back to the common room with all the new banners. I like that. It's so frustrating to me that Carlin and Dennis didn't ask Dean for help when they were trying to change the buttons, because it sounds like Dean could have been like, oh yeah, this is easy.
Yeah. Literally no problem.
Literally no problem.
Why did you not say something?
What do you want? You want Cedric's head on fire? I got it. No problem. Done.
Right.
Done. I'll just whip it up for you.
Who designed this Draco Malfoy? No artistic, vision whatsoever. It's like I could easily crack his code.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I'm sort of imagining like Dean Thomas, like a sort of like a secret agent art man.
Secret agent art man.
Yeah, that's the spinoff series we all need.
Yeah, exactly. That just like what is Dean doing for the DA if not like just drawing the propaganda posters against Voldemort?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. There we go. Way to go, Dean.
Way to go. Way to fight back. Right.
People are like, guys, you guys have spent so much time on like one throwaway line about Dean Thomas drawing.
Look, if you're not here for us getting hung up on the dumbest details, I don't know what you're doing here.
It's true. We're pretty far into the series. You've committed.
Yeah, you know what's up at this point. Okay, if you want to hear us discuss like what does it mean for a class to be a double class, I mean, you're at the right place.
You're at the right place.
You're at the right place. And now we're talking about how Dean's fighting, with his paintbrush.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Let's see. So, but I do love the descriptions. Harry helped himself to food. He had almost forgotten what it was like to feel properly hungry. He couldn't believe how happy he felt. Oh, it's just like, thank goodness Harry gets a moment of relief to just enjoy this. Like, I made it through the first task. I did a good job. Everyone's happy for me. Ron's back.
Right.
Oh,
Hopefully nothing goes drastically wrong really, really soon. So
yes, hopefully not.
He just gets to bask in the glory. He has 3 months before he has to face the second task, practically forever.
Basically forever.
Yeah. But at this point in time is when Lee Jordan comes over holding the golden egg, to which he remarks, "Blimey, this is heavy." And what we will eventually learn is that it was hollow and completely empty. So the fact that it's very heavy almost certainly suggests that it's made of real gold.
Real gold. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah.
Especially because Harry is like so associated with gold all the time. And
Also
even
true.
this is like him seeking the golden egg, as it were.
Yep, indeed. Let's see here. So
Lee is like strangely interested, I feel like, in this particular chapter. He is dialed in.
Like something is very important to him about the egg.
Yeah.
It's like this has like piqued my interest.
Right. Well, like Lee wanted to enter the tournament and then fortunately didn't jump across the age line. And now like he's watching the first, he's like, what's in the egg? I know what's in the egg. Like,
right.
I feel like he in his mind is like, I still kind of want to be the champion.
Right. He's just so deeply curious.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So then he's like, open it, Harry. Come on. Let's just see what's inside. And then Hermione chimes in, he's supposed to work out the clue on his own. And, Harry is going to like give her like a little like side eye and be like, let's see here. I was supposed to work out how to get past the dragon on my own too, Harry muttered so that only Hermione could hear him, and she grinned rather guiltily.
And winked.
And then winked. Yeah. I literally drew a wink next to it. But it does feel a little bit like Hermione is like maybe not sour, but like it's almost as if like this big momentous thing happened. Her best friend has just gotten past the dragon, like virtually unscathed. Her 2 best friends are friends again. Like everything should be like all systems go for Hermione. And it does seem like she's having these like little moments of like withdrawal from like all the fun. Why would she not just be like, of course we'll open the egg?
Right.
Like,
she's not in full celebration mode.
Right.
She's still kind of worried. Like we're not done yet, guys.
Yeah. Maybe that's what's going on, is that she's just being the realist, which makes sense for Hermione. Let's see here. So then he does open the egg. It was hollow and completely empty, but the moment that Harry opened it, the most horrible noise, a loud and screechy wailing filled the room. The nearest thing to it Harry had ever heard was the ghost orchestra at Nearly Headless Nick's death day party, which I just think that right there is just a little piece of trivia. It's like, what does the egg sound like?
What does the egg sound like?
To Harry.
Because there's several. There are several.
Yes. So then if we turn the page, we're going to get, what was that? Said Seamus Finnegan, staring at the egg as Harry slammed it shut again. Sounded like a banshee. Maybe you got to get past one of those next, Harry.
Yes. Well, if you don't recall, we just talked about Dean's Boggart, but Seamus's Boggart was a banshee.
It was a banshee as well, yes. And so the fact that he even says it sounded like a banshee, it's sort of like, why would you know what a banshee sounds like, Seamus? And our fun little, kind of side theory here that has no major implications, just that the abandoned banshee?
Yeah.
Breakfast with the banshee?
Break with the banshee.
Break with the banshee. Yes, there we go. I always get those wrong. But we think that Seamus's mom is the person who Lockhart stole the story of Break with the Banshee from.
Right.
And so, because Seamus is like oddly and continuously like lightly associated with banshees in particular, which makes sense because I think that they're like a part of like Irish folklore in particular,
right?
Where Seamus is then just from. So that makes sense. But then it would also make sense that if anywhere somebody were to be interacting with a banshee, it probably would be someone of Irish descent,
right?
If that's where they're from. So Seamus's mom.
There you go. Seamus's mom. That's we have a whole video about it. I think there was more to go on than just those things too.
Okay.
If you want to check it out, I thought it was a fun little one we discovered. Through the Gryffindor is sponsored by Pear Eyewear. All right, you guys, what's hilarious? A comedy. Almost too literal of an answer, but it is true. I remember when we did our very first live show in Boston, and we had no idea that you guys found this show funny until we started doing it, and people started laughing. I actually think it changed our entire perspective about the show, and we're having more fun than ever now. And a little tweak to your perspective is sometimes all it takes, and that is where Pear Eyewear steps in. Here's how it works. Pair offers a wide selection of base frames, which look awesome. That's what I'm wearing right now. But if you ever feel a little bit more whimsy or upbeat or want to show off your fandom side, Pair makes it super easy by offering an even greater selection of toppers. And watch this, just like that, boom, snap right on top of your frames. One simple movement and you've changed your entire vibe. And they've collabed with so many different brands. Like we're talking Harry Potter. I'm wearing Slytherin right now. There's Disney's Mickey and Friends. There's Marvel. Like, look, I've got X-Men ones right here. And this is my new favorite one. It's the Boston Celtics. Boom. So, I'm staying up late watching the game with my wife. And I'm like, man, I'm having the best time. And she's like, I'm so bored. And I was like, I was definitely not thinking the exact opposite at this exact moment. Whatever, it's fine. We're in overtime. Oh my gosh, Jason Tatum, yeah! Anyway, though, frames start at just $25 plus they're HSA and FSA approved. So find a new angle to see things from. Go to paireyewear.com and use code Griffin for 15% off your first pair. And it would really help us out and support the show if when you're filling out your post-checkout survey, you can mention us through the Griffin door. So again, that's paireyewear.com, code Griffin, link in the description and the show notes and all that down below. That it doesn't, like, whether it's true or not, it's like just fun.
It's just fun. It just adds like a little background color to the way that we interpret the story.
Yeah.
And I actually think it even lines up even more with the very next thing that's said is that Neville then chimes in and says it was somebody being tortured. You're going to have to fight the Cruciatus curse. And so it's kind of like if Seamus's mom had just had interactions with the Banshee, then this is like Neville, basically his mind going through the thing that he would most associate
with terrible screaming,
which is something that his parents were, associated with. Yep.
But so then if you back it up, so it's like Neville hears the thing he's afraid of, which is the Cruciatus curse. Seamus hears the thing that he's afraid of, and Harry heard the ghost orchestra. So do you think does that say anything about Harry?
So you would associate ghosts with the idea of dying,
death,
which at the very least is something that Harry will ultimately have to face.
But you know what? But ghosts, when he talks to Nearly Headless Nick later, he will say, he asks him, what's it like to die? And Nick says, I don't know. Because he hasn't properly died.
He chose a feeble form of life rather than...
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than... So then if you want to just get like real deep and go too far into it, which of course we do, in a way then, if what Harry hears is like, if what Harry then is like afraid of in this situation is like ghosts,
yep,
it is the fear of not properly dying. Which is what happens to Voldemort, is that he does not properly die.
He will. Voldemort will never fully have the mercy that is just actual death.
Yes.
He will be stuck in limbo in that like kind of mutilated barbecue sauce state forever.
Yeah.
Man, that is very deep.
Well, I didn't think we were going to pull that out right there. That is interesting. I don't know if that's what's being going for here, but I think it does fit.
Yes,
it's certainly true of Harry anyway.
Right. Although this is kind of funny though, because that George's then retort is, I thought it sounded a bit like Percy singing. Maybe you've got to attack him while he's in the shower, Harry. This I think is hilarious because Percy's going to get dragged on twice in this chapter, where I think the very last sentence of this chapter is Percy wouldn't recognize a joke if it danced naked in front of him wearing Dobby's tea cozy. And I'm just like, Percy, who is not in this chapter, he's having a great chapter.
He is hilariously. What is it? Is it George who says that? I thought it sounded like George who says that. George is the closest one because it does have to do with water.
True.
They're singing in the shower.
That's right.
And it actually is someone singing underwater.
Also true.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How about that?
That is funny. Wow. It is singing underwater, water being the water coming from the shower.
Oh, that's cool.
Man, that is hilarious. I didn't even connect that.
So maybe between Fred and George, the new headcanon should be that who should it have been? George should have been the champion.
Oh.
Because if it had to be, if they both put their names in, they wouldn't both be selected.
Right.
It would have to
one of them. Yeah,
one of them.
Which one of them would have been selected? There you go. He's in line. He's in line with the egg almost immediately.
He's in line with the egg almost immediately.
He's got it.
He basically has it. I mean, he thinks that somebody's singing in the shower.
Yeah.
Proof that he is
Proof that he
material.
was champion material.
Exactly.
And then sadly, this is like her Fred offers Hermione a jam tart and everyone stops theorizing about what the sound is immediately, which is crazy to me. You'd think that all of the Gryffindors hearing this sound, someone would recognize that it's a mermaid song. Right?
Yes. In the same way, though, that it feels like more people would almost certainly know what gillyweed is, like when it really comes like, push to shove, that someone would have been exposed to Mermish before because
like Dumbledore speaks it.
Do they say that Barty Crouch Sr. speaks it at the Quidditch World Cup, or do they say like is like Mermish and gobbledygook, or do they throw some other?
I don't know. He knows 250 languages, and if Dumbledore knows it, I feel like he does.
Almost certainly one of them is Mermish. I was just wondering if it was like more than once it's come up. But yeah, if it's a language that can be learned within the wizarding world, then it seems like
they're right next to the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it seems like somebody would have had that proper exposure to it. But at the very least, nobody speaks up if that's the case.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, so he offers the jam tart, which totally throws off everything, but it kind of makes sense because he's also like, I haven't done anything to them. It's the custard creams you've got to watch. Then Neville, who just bit into a custard cream, choked and spat it out. Fred laughed. Just my little joke, Neville.
What's funny to me is that in the next page, like someone will eat I think it's Neville, will eat one of the canary creams and he'll, start advertising them as canary creams. So he knows that they're called canary creams, but forgot that it was the creams,
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. All I can think is that at this point, he doesn't know what's going to happen for sure. Like he's sort of like, just my little joke. It's like you bit it and nothing's happened yet. So we'll have to keep tinkering with the recipe. And then like once it pops out, it's like, okay, yes, indeed.
Hey, it works.
It does work.
Okay, very good, very good. Canary creams.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Bargain. Yes. And then Hermione cuts in and says, did you get all this from the kitchen, Fred? You know what? Fred just sort of inserts himself into offering Hermione a jam tart in the middle of this otherwise exciting moment when Harry has opened the egg, right here.
Well, I mean, do you mean that it's like Fred is clearly like preoccupied with all the wrong things? I mean,
it just sounds to me that like, it's like that everyone's like, open the egg, Harry, open the egg. It's like, and Fred's like, Hermione, you want a tart?
Yeah, it's like, what a weird time to offer that.
Exactly. What a weird time to offer that.
Yeah. What's up with this jam tart?
What's up with this jam tart? Is Fred like crushing on Hermione a little here?
Stepping on
Stepping on Harry's territory?
What would we even call that? Fred Miney?
Fred Miney. That sounds like a real one. Is that a real one? I don't know.
Hermed. Hermed?
Head.
Head.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
Where'd the R go?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. Because that's the thing. You have to get into the minds of the students. And
Hermione.
Hermione. Okay. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you have to get into the minds of the students. You have to imagine what is going on in this particular scene. And it means that everybody's fixated, including George, on the egg itself. But Fred, on the other hand, is fixated on handing over a non-tampered with jam tart to the one and only Hermione.
Exactly.
Everybody's starting to take notice of Hermione all of a sudden. Yeah.
Including one Victorious Crumb.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's see here. Yes, he does go on to explain how they were able to get the food from the kitchens, and he puts on a high-pitched squeak of a voice and says, anything we can get you, sir. Anything at all. They're dead helpful. Give me a roast ox if I said it was peckish. Right. And I wrote him, such overkill, but good to know. Yeah, it's like
a roast ox.
I'm a little hungry. And they're like, no problem. We'll get an ox.
Hold on.
Prepared. Do you want 800 pounds of meat?
Yeah, because we got that.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Right. And then Fred, in a way that seems so unlikely, unless he was just so caught up in the romantic vibes of one Hermione Granger. He's just like, easy, concealed door behind the painting of a bowl of fruit. Just tickle the pear and it giggles. And
He stopped.
Yeah.
I know. I literally wrote, takes him way too long to pick up on this.
I know. It's like, this is Fred Weasley.
Fred.
Sharp as a proverbial tack.
Right. Troublemaker Fred Weasley. And someone's asking how to break rules. And he's not like, what's your angle?
Well, hold on.
And he even knows Hermione and Spew. So like, it's surprising it takes him so long.
It's the butterbeer, man.
Yeah.
It's getting to his head.
The butterbeer. Yeah. It's flowing. The butterbeer that's there for, unaccounted reasons. Gonna try and lead the house elves out on strike now, are you? Said George. Gonna give them all the leaflet stuff and try to stir them up into rebellion. Now everyone's like laughing at Hermione. Whoops. Yeah.
Don't you go upsetting them and telling them they've got to take clothes and salaries, said Fred warningly. You'll put them off their cooking.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
Just then, Neville caused a slight diversion by turning into a large canary. Oh, sorry, Neville, Fred shouted over all the laughter. I forgot. It was the custard creams we hexed.
Oops.
You didn't forget.
Didn't forget at all, I don't think.
Canary creams, Fred shouted to the excitable crowd. George and I invented them. 7 sickles each. A bargain.
A bargain. Invented them. It sounds like you just said you hexed them. It sounds like they just cast the spell on the creams.
That is what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else I think you'd be doing to make magical food, but
right. But it is. I did write down trivia though. How much does a canary cream cost?
Seven sickles. That feels steep. I don't know.
I too thought it felt steep.
Yeah,
but it's 7, so we'll remember that. It's easy to remember because whenever it comes to Harry Potter, it's always 7. And when it's not 7, it's 13. When it's not 13, it's 12. When it's not 12, it's 11.
Exactly. But you know what? I feel like this is the way to do it. I mean, this feels more rule breakery than anything. To go into the kitchen, get free tarts from the house elves down there, hex them, and then sell them.
Yeah.
This is unlimited free inventory.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You just go down there, they'll give you a whole roast ox. Give me a roast ox worth of cream tarts, please.
Right.
I will hex them and sell them. There you go.
Boom, bam.
And the magic is free. The tarts are free. The sickles obviously are it's 100% profit.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not baking. They're not up in their room baking.
Yeah, they're not baking these tarts.
I'm just imagining Fred and George like having like a little like easy bake oven that they got from like Arthur's garage of Muggle products.
Yeah.
Like up there, like we can only do 6 at a time.
I know. They don't even have to, they're wasting 0 time. This is a great way. This is a great grift as far as I can see.
Yeah. Let's see here. So then finally it was nearly 1 a.m. when Harry finally went up to the dormitory. Ron, Neville, Seamus, and Dean. Before he pulled the curtains on his 4-poster shut, Harry set his tiny model of the Hungarian horn table on the table next to his bed, where it yawned, curled up, and closed its eyes. This is such a cool trinket.
I know. I wish it came up again ever.
I know. It's just sort of like, it's like, that is awesome.
I know. I really want the moving model of the Hungarian horntail.
Yes, absolutely. Like if there is a world where like, and again, and now is when I really start to imagine it, like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon.
Dude, Epic Universe opened like this past weekend.
I
was seeing all the videos.
It looked amazing. Yeah. I've got to check it out.
Yes.
But no, I know this just seems, it's just so cool. Like Harry has such cool little things that he's collected through his career of being awesome.
And this one does not come up again, and I feel like it should. I wish you could like talk to it and send it on like little missions and stuff.
Yes.
Like, fly, little dragon.
Yeah, or like go like light Draco's paper on fire.
Yeah.
Like flies across the room. It's just like
yeah, like it actually breathes fire.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's so cool.
He comes around on dragons like, Hagrid had a point. They were all right, really. Dragons? It's like, are they?
All right. Well, you've had one good day.
Yeah, one good day. All right.
Yeah.
Everyone comes around on dragons so quick. It's like, can they kill you? Yeah, but like pretty cool, right?
Pretty cool. I wonder if at all Charlie left and he's like, I've been studying dragons for years. It never even occurred to me to use a broomstick.
Right.
It's like, guys, this Potter kid just revolutionized.
I feel like Charlie must be right. I always imagine Charlie on broomstick while he's like training the dragons or studying the dragons in Romania.
I mean, it seems like it would make sense considering he's like regarded as such a great flyer himself.
Right. He's considered such a good Quidditch player. And then when his dragon friends show up to take Norbert or Norberta, they come on broomsticks.
They do.
Yeah. So I've always assumed they just are on broomsticks most of the time.
Right. So maybe Charlie was just sort of like, yeah, he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Right. Can't believe no one else thought of that.
Right.
You won't believe this, Harry. Crumb didn't even think of flying.
I'm seeing all the books on how to deal with dragons.
Well, they didn't know it was going to be a dragon, except they did, but they didn't. They weren't supposed to,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. So the start of December brought wind and sleet to Hogwarts. Sounds lovely.
Mm-hmm. The weather at Hogwarts sounds pretty bad for most of the school year.
It does. It does. It sounds kind of abysmal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no place like home, right?
No place like home. It doesn't matter because you got, fires and thick walls. But then he says every time we pass the Durmstrang ship on the lake, which was pitching its sails, he says he felt bad for them. And it's like, they must be freezing on a ship in the lake.
Yes.
I mean, I suppose there's like magical ways to keep it,
toasty and warm.
Toasty and warm on the inside. Well insulated. That's what I was looking for. But my goodness, if there's not, they are frozen out there.
Yes.
It's the worst place you could be.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And then we get another little line throwback to the Madame Maxine's horses, because it says Hagrid, Harry noticed, was keeping Madame Maxine's horses well provided with their preferred drink of single malt whiskey. The fumes wafting through the trough in the corner of their paddock was enough to make the entire Care of Magical Creatures class lightheaded.
So in case you were wondering, yes, the horses are still very ship-faced.
Yeah.
I am kind of surprised. I am frankly, if it's that thick on the air and Hagrid has blasted scroots walking around, I'm kind of surprised no like ignition happens, doesn't catch fire.
I'm personally surprised that Dumbledore is not auditing every single Care of Magical Creatures class, being like, still counts. This counts.
This counts.
As having a drink. With anyone.
Someone, come on.
Breathe in that air, people.
You know that at some point during Madame Maxime's visit, he was talking to one of the professors and he's like, come on, we'll go have a whiskey. I've got barrels of it. And then he goes and checks and he's like, where's the whiskey? Where's the whiskey? No! Hagrid! Oh, I fed it to some horses.
Why?
I'm doing my own thing over here, Dumbledore. I got a hot date tonight.
I'm doing my own thing over here. I'm sorry that our goals are clashing.
Yeah. Hagrid, all you do is drink. Come on, man. No, not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of the Scroots, there's only 10 left. They're all about 6 feet in length, so about as long as I am tall. That's horrifying.
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah.
Yep. Hagrid is still just absolutely, it's like as good as he is, like genuinely with creatures, it's like the things that he does sometimes you're like, it doesn't feel like you understand, because
it doesn't.
The class looked dispiritedly at the enormous boxes Harry had brought out, all lined with pillows and fluffy blankets. And it's like Hagrid, you can't possibly believe that that's what they want.
I know. Like, it does seem like he would know that creatures of this nature would not want or need pillows. But even when he sends Norbert away, I guess he gives him a teddy bear, which he does promptly rip up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something in his mind that because he loves the creature so much and thinks of them as like big cuddly things, that they must enjoy cuddly things. Yeah. Right. These are the same. These are the same.
Yeah. It's like a blind spot in what is otherwise seems to be like a genuine knowledge base that Hagrid has about magical beasts, is that it's like he thinks that they're going to want these things that are completely silly.
Yes.
So,
and they don't, not at all. Harry describes them now as the most repulsive things Harry had ever seen, to which I just wrote next to it, like including Aunt Marge.
Ooh,
yeah,
wow.
I know.
Okay.
So,
that's pretty low praise.
Pretty low praise of the Scroots.
Of the Scroots.
To
have descended below Aunt Marge.
I know.
But he hasn't met Umbridge yet.
That's true. That's true.
For safekeeping.
As far as I'm concerned, most repulsive things Harry has ever seen include Aunt Marge, then the Scroots, then Umbridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the hierarchy that we're dealing with. Let's see here. So then during the class, though, I think really the big setup here is just for Rita Skeeter to eventually be showing up, because it seems like everybody's having a really difficult time with them. They're breaking out of, the pillow lined and fluffy blanket.
Turns out they do not hibernate.
Yeah, they don't. Let's see here. It also says I feel like Hagrid is not even necessarily teaching the students at this point in time so much as he is just having them help with his own research about these creatures.
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
Because he's not guiding them on what to do. He's just like, let's see if this works.
Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, in a way, that's kind of teaching. It's like if you're ever dealing with a creature you've never come across before, here's every way to approach learning about them.
I guess that's a good point.
You could argue with that. It seems like he should have abandoned this a long time ago. I do think he's going to like body slam one here in a second.
Oh, he sure does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I mean, which I always sort of imagine like almost being like a cockroach that's been stepped on, where it's like it's sort of squeezed, but like somehow it still just like walks away.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so Rita Skeeter does show up and she's like, wow, this does look fun. Rita Skeeter was leaning on Hagrid's garden fence looking at the mayhem. She was wearing a thick magenta cloak with a furry purple collar today, and her crocodile skin handbag was over her arm.
Yep, she's here. I don't even know why she's here, too, because at this point, Dumbledore has already said she's not allowed on the grounds. And it's like, why are you here at all? Has he said that at this point?
Yeah, I think so, because literally the next thing Hagrid's going to say is, thought Dumbledore said you weren't allowed inside the school anymore.
Yeah. So like, why is she even appearing in human form at this point? And why, like, this is such weird behavior for any reporter to just be like walking around a school.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yes. No, it's a very strange thing to be doing for sure. But this must be like an early intro to the sentiment that like she is capable of being somewhere that she's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Even though it's not nearly as well guised as I feel like it will be as we scoot forward.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it feels like this would be a fine situation to have just had one of the characters notice a beetle on the fence post.
Right.
Or something.
Right.
You know, like that would have been okay.
Right. At this point, I guess she's not necessarily out to get Hagrid yet, because I think this first interview goes okay. Right.
I'm trying to
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. I can't remember the exact order of the chronology there, because we're not terribly far away from the Yule Ball, which is when
when she's going to overhear. Because I think he goes and talks to her, and he says she didn't seem that interested in the Scroots, just wanted me to talk about you, Harry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so yeah, then Rita Skeeter does notice that Harry is in fact in the class. "Oh, you're here, Harry," said Rita, as she looked around. "So you like care of magical creatures, do you? One of your favorite lessons?" "Yes," Harry said stoutly. Hagrid beamed at him.
Yeah. Good for Harry. Also trying to cover up is that like she's trying to figure out where Hagrid got the Scroots from. That they're concerned that he got them illegally or something, which in fact he has.
Yes, he has indeed. Yep. I mean, I guess his version of getting them illegally is illegally breeding the manticore and the fire crab.
Yeah.
To end up with this. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Let's see here.
Okay. Also, this is so on the last page, it says, after they fail to get them in the crates, it says most of the class, Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle in the lead, had fled into Hagrid's cabin, which I think is funny that those three think of Hagrid's house as a safe place in this scenario.
Also true.
Which is kind of funny.
Yep.
But then, okay, here's who's left helping. It says, Harry noticed her eyes travel over Dean, who had a nasty cut on her cheeks, Lavender, whose robes were badly singed, Seamus, who was nursing several burnt fingers, and then to the cabin windows where most of the class stood, their noses pressed against the glass. So what that means is, like, those are the people left. We know Harry, Ron, Hermione, Dean, Lavender, and Neville are left outside.
Seamus.
Right. Oh, Seamus.
Yeah, not Neville.
Not Neville. Sorry, yes. So that means of the Gryffindors who are present in the class but not left outside, Parvati and Neville have gone inside.
Oops.
I know. So I'm like, and I guess possibly the other three Gryffindor girls who never get named.
For some reason.
Yeah. But like Parvati and Neville go inside. What are they doing?
For shame.
Lavender stays out.
How about that, Lavender?
I know. Impressive here.
It is impressive. Yeah. She's just doing her darndest.
She's doing her darndest, but she doesn't stick with Parvati on this occasion.
How about
They're usually a pair.
They usually are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She does have a pet bunny at home, though, or she did.
Yeah,
so
she did.
She has more experience with pets.
I guess. You know how people could be about their pets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Let's see here. Harry had a very bad feeling about this. I highlighted this because I was just like, "Hey, Harry likes Star Wars." Get it? Because
I get it.
They say it in every movie.
Yeah.
I've got a bad feeling about this. But there was no way of communicating it to Hagrid without Rita Skeeter seeing. So he had to stand and watch in silence as Hagrid and Rita Skeeter made made arrangements to meet in the Three Broomsticks for a good long interview later that week. Then the bell rang up at the castle, signaling the end of the lesson.
Yeah. It mentions here that part of how she gets him to go, it says that the prophet does a zoological column every Wednesday, as I'm sure you know. And like, I feel like Hagrid probably would know.
Almost certainly.
You know? And at that rate, I feel like Hagrid would almost be a regular in this column.
It does feel that way.
Like, how many zoological experts can there be in the wizarding world that he's not come up a few times?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the gamekeeper at Hogwarts has got to be one of the most interesting zoological jobs in all of wizarding.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe Newt is over there just starting to kind of love the spotlight a little bit.
Right. I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
You guys need another correspondent? Like, oh, I'm in for it. I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
As we scoot forward to say, worst that can happen is Hagrid will have to get rid of the Scroots. Sorry, did I say worst? I meant best.
Best.
And I was sort of like, I'm kind of with Ron on this one. It feels like maybe we should just abandon the Scroots.
Maybe you should just abandon the Scroots. And then in response, Ron says, Hagrid's been in loads of trouble before. Dumbledore's never sacked him, said Ron consolingly, to which I said, yeah, but he also didn't help very much, did he?
Also true.
Like, when he was getting sent to Azkaban, Dumbledore comes down and just also gets ejected from the school. Right. And then in year 3, it's like, oh, one of your hippogriffs got to cut up one of your students. I could probably clear this up in like 3 seconds, but I'm not gonna.
So it's going to be a year-long thing. And then at the end of the year, it's not even going to work.
So don't worry. I got Harry in a time turner situation set up for you way long from now. I hope you don't mind stressing about it for 9 months.
Yeah. Yo, we need to take a brief pause right there to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Turtle Beach. Imagine this. You're on your couch rocking some single player action when a notification appears. The free elf has just logged on. You reach for your crusty old headset only to have the padding dissolve in your hands. You fumble around madly for a solution, but it's too late. Hexy and I know it has killed your little pal, and it's all over, but not anymore. The Stealth 700 headphones from Turtle Beach doesn't just level up your game, it levels up your entire head. Bluetooth, noise canceling, and the kind of bass that makes explosions feel personal, which, by the way, they are. So the next time that you're lounging and Dead Weasley logs on, you know things will be different. You're immersed wirelessly for the freedom to jump from one side of the couch to the other like a freaking parapet. 3D spatial audio has you on top of your game. You duck, you roll, you mash button combos like there's no tomorrow, and your old pal Fred, Dead Weasley, gets to fight another day. Y'all, the Turtle Beach headset is as cozy as a winter sweater and has the battery life of I'm going to be honest with you. There's not really like a good wizarding themed analogy for batteries, but they last 80 hours. So that's cool as heck, right? Y'all head to turtlebeach.com and use code Griffin for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code Griffin. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you and get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Link in the descriptions and show notes down below.
Moving on here. Oh, next up we have Divination, where things are getting a little bit better for Harry now because Ron is back and the entire subject is becoming much funnier. And in this particular class, Trelawney is talking about, and I highlighted this, it says, the way in which Pluto could disrupt everyday life. And to me, that's just the amount of money you spend on pins.
on right. Pluto pins.
On Pluto pins.
From Disney World.
From Disney World, yes.
Jay's a big collector, in case you guys didn't know.
In case you didn't know, big Disney pins guy, particularly Pluto pins. The dog, not the planet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Although maybe there's like a small corner for some Pluto the Planet pins.
I mean, that would be funny to have like a single Pluto the Planet pin on my Pluto the dog pin board.
People are like, what's up with this one? It's just like a blue circle.
And I'd be like, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Former planet, I guess you could say.
Former planet.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So then in Divination, though, things are going a little bit better for Harry because now he's got Ron back with him. So they're kind of just like giggling along with all the various predictions and whatnot. And Professor Trelawney is like, I would think that some of us, looking meaningful at Harry, might feel a little less frivolous had they seen what I had seen during my crystal gazing last night. As I sat here absorbed in my needlework, the urge to consult the orb overpowered me. I arose, settled myself before it, and I gazed into its crystalline depths. And what do you think I saw gazing back at me?
An ugly old bat Nova saw his specs.
Harry fought hard to keep his face straight. Death, my dears. Parvati and Lavender, who are now best friends again, both put their hands over their mouths, looking horrified. Yes, said Professor.
To which I'm like, you still horrified by this?
Yeah.
How many times has this happened in this class?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it comes ever closer. It circles overhead like a vulture, even lower, ever lower over the castle. And it's like once again, Cedric will die.
It is, yes. What she's actually seeing is Cedric, not Harry.
Right.
But she thinks it's Harry because that seems like the more obvious one. But also it says might be a little less frivolous that they'd seen what I seen in my crystal grazing last night. So it's like in Trelawney's mind, she has seen apparently that someone's going to die, assumes it's Harry. But like if it's been foretold, is there anything he can do about it? Like, is she suggesting that he could change the future?
I mean, I feel like that would be like if real life seers were out there, there would be a degree of like a high degree of efficacy about this exact thing.
Yeah.
Because if you could witness, pending negativity for somebody, it's like there's a huge philosophical debate as to whether or not it would be acceptable to tell them it's coming.
Right.
It's like, would you rather know or would you rather not know?
Right.
Because if you know, then you're just going to be consumed by that until it happens. Then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you don't know, then at the very least you get to enjoy yourself until it comes, and it's inevitable anyway. So
what you have to do is like Minority Report it, like know it's about to happen and don't tell them. And then right before it happens, stop it.
Somehow stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole
if you can.
That.
If that depends on how fixed the future is, I suppose. Also, though, I think this is a weird line by Harry. He says, it'd be a bit more impressive if she hadn't done it about 80 times before, Harry said. But if I dropped dead every time she's told me I'm going to, I'd be a medical miracle. And I was like, but like, you kind of are.
That's literally right? What I wrote. I wrote, you are a medical miracle.
You survived the killing curse. Do you remember that?
Right.
So, yeah, don't forget that, Harry. You were correct. Yeah. Let's see. Then we head back down to the library where once again, Victor Crumb is in there. Ron's hovering around looking for an autograph before he realizes that a bunch of girls are debating the same thing. At which point I'm like, how long? It sounds like these girls come in every time he's in there and they still haven't managed to ask for an autograph.
At this point, it's almost like it feels like hyperbole. Like it feels like we have like left reality behind where we're far enough into him being here that it seems like by now people will have like at least somewhat acclimated to the presence.
Right.
You'd
think he'd have like started to make a few Hogwartsian friends at this point.
You certainly would, especially if he's like so center stage. And it's not just like to like younger students either. It's like, like 6th year people. It's like these are like older kids who are like
people who are pretty much his age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you definitely would have thought so. Let's see here. So then they decide to leave the library and they make their way back to Gryffindor Tower, where the password is still Balderdash.
Still Balderdash. I wrote the same thing. Still?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. This is like the longest. I think this is the longest running password we ever have to the Gryffindor common room. I don't know for sure, but it feels like it.
I mean, we're into December, so we've been all the way through September, October. It's 3 months long at this point.
Right. Yeah. However, though, as the fat lady swings open, Hermione comes sprinting down the hall and yells, "Harry, Harry, you've got to come. You've got to come. The most amazing things happen. Please." She seized Harry's arm and started to drag him back along the corridor. And it's like, it's like you could read this particular sentiment. She's calling Harry, you've got to come see it. Like you might even just forget Ron's even there.
I mean, that's exactly what I said. She's completely ignoring Ron here.
Right.
They're both there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like imagine for a moment looking in hindsight if you're Ron and being like, yes, I remember the day she finally broke into the kitchen. She couldn't wait to tell Harry about it. I'm so glad we're married now.
Yeah.
It's like, would that not stand out to you?
I know. I guess what she's talking about is specifically Dobby, which is why Harry will care more.
It definitely is because it's Dobby. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. But still.
Yeah.
She can't wait to tell him.
I know. It's like you guys. It's not you guys. Come on. You've got to come.
Right.
Guess what? No. It's Harry. Harry, not Ron. Seizes his arm. Let's go. Yeah. So I got my little classic. If you get one of my pages and I've drawn a little heart on it next to a sentence, that's because it's a Hermione sentence.
And if you get one from mine and it's got a little winky face next to it, it's because it's a Hermione sentence.
There you go.
Yeah. Harry looked around at Ron. He didn't forget Ron was there.
Nope.
What a friend.
What a friend. What a friend.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what Hermione's actually upset about. She's like, you know what? I didn't like that you guys weren't friends, but I did like spending all my time with just Harry. And now he's like kind of hanging out with you again some and not just me.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the real long-term plan. I'll marry Ron and then I'll get more time with Harry. I'm fully kidding at this point.
Yeah.
Just for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know is that obvious. I feel like some responses we get, people are like, guys,
why do you always point it out? It's so clear. It's like, no, at this point, we're just pointing it out because it's part of the show.
It's just pure silliness.
Yeah.
No, so rest assured, I mean, we're just having fun. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see here. Hermione will not tell them what's going on.
Oh, this is classic Hermione.
I was going to say the same thing.
Classic Hermione.
Classic Hermione. Yeah, she does this all the time where she's like, I think something. I'll be right back. And it's like,
can you just say it now, please?
It might be helpful. What if it's pipes?
Yeah. What if it's pipes? What if it's pipes? What if you were about to tell them about a basilisk and then you got petrified on the way there? Hermione.
Yeah. You'd think by now I'd be like, you know what? Last time I went, I got petrified. I should probably just start telling them where I'm going in the first place, just in case. You never know.
Yeah.
What could be lurking behind any corner? Let's see here. She turned at the bottom of the staircase and hurried toward the door that Cedric Diggory had gone through the night after the Goblet of Fire had regurgitated his and Harry's name. Harry had never been through here before, and he and Ron followed Hermione down a flight of stone steps, but instead of ending up in a gloomy underground passage like the one that led to Snape's dungeon, they found themselves in a broad stone corridor, brightly lit with torches and decorated with cheerful paintings that were mainly of food.
Yay.
I think I would like this hallway.
I think so. Yeah. It sounds like the Hufflepuff dorm rooms are the nicest ones to get to.
I definitely think so. It's like you get to pass all sorts of stuff, barely have to go up any stairs.
Yeah.
Near the food.
It
all works out well.
They must, all the Hufflepuffs must know how to get into the kitchen.
Almost certainly.
Right.
Almost certainly. And when you go to like Disney, it's like normally you have to like pay extra to be like in one of the rooms that's like near the cafeteria, like in like the main section or whatever. It's like, that's like a huge perk. So
yeah,
go Hufflepuffs. You're doing it. Wait a minute, Hermione. What? She turned around to look at him, anticipation all over her face. I know what this is about, said Harry. He nudged Ron and pointed at the painting just behind Hermione. It showed a gigantic silver bowl of fruit. Hermione, said Ron, cottoning on. You're trying to rope us into that spew stuff again. No, I'm not, she said hastily. And it's not spew, Ron. Change the name, have you, said Ron, frowning at her. What are we now, then? The Half-Elf Liberation Front?
Half-Elf.
Half-Elf. I just highlighted it and wrote, literally a better name.
Yeah.
Help Elf.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm not asking you, Hermione said impatiently. I came down here just now to talk to all of them and I found, oh, come on, Harry, I want to show you.
Yeah. Just out with it, Hermione. Please. Yeah. But then she tickles the fruit, began to squirm, chuckling. I like that the fruit is laughing. That's funny.
Yep.
Suddenly turned into a large green door handle. Hermione seized it, pulled the door open, pushed Harry hard in the back, forcing him inside. Harry Potter, sir! Harry Potter! And it's Dobby!
Yay! The return of Dobbert! Oh, I gotta be so happy about that. I love that he's hugging him so tightly that Harry thought his ribs would break.
I know.
This is such a great hug to imagine.
Yep.
Like, it's such like a happy and authentic, like Dobby's just so stoked to see him.
I know. Because he's only been there for a week, like he just got there.
Right.
Yeah.
Dobby, Harry gasped. It is Dobby, sir. It is.
Oh, Dobby has been hoping to see Harry Potter, sir, and Harry Potter has come to see him, sir. Oh, Dobby, he's just so excited. What great luck on his part to get there and be like, oh my God, maybe I'll see Harry. And then Harry just shows up to come see him. Just the best. Just the best.
It's working out so well.
Also, like I want to know about the magic about house elves' noses, because Dobby and Winky, I feel like, could not have more differently shaped noses.
It seems like they would literally be like a different species.
Almost, yeah.
Because his is a pencil-shaped nose, whereas Winky's is like a squashed tomato.
It is described that way many times.
It is indeed. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a one-time thing. It's always like that.
I think I drew them at some point on here. Yes, very poorly. You don't want this page. It's very creepy, but there it is.
Let me see it.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a good page.
Right?
That's what you want right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll just like look out from the frame. You probably put it in. Anyway, so now Dobby has adorned himself with all sorts of new clothing, all of which just makes for great trivia. But he was wearing a tea cozy for a hat on which he had pinned a number of bright badges. Part of me is wondering if whether those badges are like sports.
I wrote the same thing. Cedric badges?
Yes, it's like... What are these?
Yeah, what kind of badges you have here, sir?
A tie patterned with horseshoes, which is a piece of trivia that I'm absolutely certain I would get wrong.
Yep. Over his bare chest. So he has all these clothes, but no shirt yet.
No shirt yet.
Yep.
A pair of what looked like children's soccer shorts.
Soccer. Clue that we have the American version, because otherwise it would just say football shorts, right?
Yeah, good point. Yep. And odd socks. One of these Harry saw was the black one that Harry had removed from his own foot and tricked when he tricked Mr. Malfoy into giving Dobby one, therefore setting Dobby free. The other was covered in pink and orange stripes.
Wow, so pink and orange mixed with black.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is quite the spectacle.
Quite the spectacle we got going on here. Yes. What are you doing here? And of course, like, Professor Dumbledore gave Dobby and Winky jobs. Winky? She's here too. Yeah. So we learned that both house elves have made their way to Hogwarts. And then we also get a cool look in the kitchens as to like how the kitchens work with the Great Hall, where they have like 4 long tables down in the kitchens. They put the food on there and then send it up like through the ceiling, basically.
Through the ceiling. And I actually wrote a little note about this too, because I agree with you. I think it's crazy that we learn how this works. Like, this feels like a detail that would have been perfectly fine just like living in the backs of our minds is like mysterious forever. And it's like, this is actually a really cool explanation. But then the other thing I think is really interesting is like the transportation of the food. Like, I almost wonder if it would fall into like a similar category to like apparition, which you obviously can't do in or out of Hogwarts, but house elves can. And so part of me was almost wondering if it like requires house elf magic to do this particular spell.
Oh, interesting.
You know, it's like, and that would be, on some level, I mean, not to try to glaze over, and house elves are always a touchy subject when it comes to talking about anything, but like almost like if they're uniquely capable of doing this particular job because their magic is permitted.
Right.
But I mean, it's not full blown apparition, and it's just going from like a basement up a level. So there's that. But
it always sounds like it just sort of like materializes. It doesn't give you like that like pop sound that is normally associated with apparition.
True.
So yeah, it's like, are they like floating it up and it's like traveling like through some sort of like magical barrier into the table?
Right. Like, we don't ever really get. Is there any other brand of magic? I'm trying to think that would involve, like, there's port keys, obviously, but this is not port keys.
This is more like phasing or something.
Right, yeah. I don't really feel like we have a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like ghosts going through walls and stuff.
True.
Yeah.
But even that still feels different.
Yeah, that feels different. It's not like I was going to say it's not like the food is dead, but some of it is.
But like, you know, for example, you would send a letter through the mail. You wouldn't just like phase a letter from like your bedroom to someone else's.
Right.
You know, like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like, you know, non-biological disapparation, I guess, where it would be like, send to Ron, you know, and then if it gets splinched, it's fine.
Splinched.
Roland's been splinched. Then it's not really that big of a deal because it's a letter, not your body.
Right.
Worst case, you have to rewrite the letter.
Is this like maybe like akin to like flu powder at all? No, not really. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't seem like flames are involved with it.
Yeah, no.
Not in any particular way.
No.
But yeah, like object transportation. Like there's even like vanishing spells that can like make something like become non-existent.
Yeah. But it does always feel like they just sort of like pop up through the table.
Right.
Like it's not like teleporting from one table to the next table or something.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It works and it's cool.
It works and it's cool. And that's really the big thing. Yep. So anyway, we get a little bit of a glimpse inside of the kitchen here. We do meet Dobby again, who, unlike Dobby, had obviously not foraged for clothes and was still wearing a neat little skirt and blouse with a matching blue hat. Just additional trivia about what Winky is wearing there.
We also find out the rest of the house elves, Dobby and Winky are the only ones not dressed in a tea towel stamped with the Hogwarts crest.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I was almost surprised like that they don't have like an actual uniform, like they have to wear a tea towel, but then it's like, no, obviously they have to give them non-clothes to wear.
It's sort of like a weird dilemma, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point though. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that version of granting them It's the same. I always think about it with laundry too, though. It's like, I mean, just for the sheer practicality of it, like maybe it's not the same as like giving it to them. But then again, like Lucius is not exactly being like, Dobby, here's a sock.
Right.
Like he's like accidentally handing it to him. And it's like, that's enough to free him. So I don't know. The rules are so weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, when does something become clothes?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Harry said, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, yeah, Dobby taking extreme care of his clothes, that it still looks brand new, which I think is just an adorable trait.
Yes.
Like he takes better care of his clothes than I certainly do.
Right.
But what?
It also reminds me of Creature when we fast forward to like Deathly Hallows. Like once he is like once again happy, it's like everything about him is like polished clean. And he's it's like they are very, very capable when they are doing the job they want to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Winky does not like the job she is doing, is not taking care of her clothes at all. She has soup stains all down her blouse, burns in her skirt. And this is the real reason we're down here, to get some more red herrings thrown towards Bagman and Crouch from Winky.
Yes.
Yeah. So they try and talk her down, but she starts crying harder than ever. Dobby, not concerned. He offers Harry tea just in the middle of it. Harry gives him one of his classic ers. So I don't know if you have your counter going still. But
I don't still have my counter. I want to say that's 6 though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instantly 6 house elves come trotting up behind him. I like the idea that they're all standing in the background, like continuing to do their jobs with just like one ear trained on Harry. And like the moment he says anything, it's like, yeah, sure, T. They're like, T, got it.
Yeah. We will be there with T.
Yeah.
Pronto stat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. How long have you been here, Dobby? Only a week, Harry Potter, sir, said Dobby happily. Dobby came to see Professor Dumbledore, sir. You see, it is very difficult to get for a house elf who has been dismissed to get a new position, sir. Very difficult indeed.
Yes.
And we kind of knew this to be true because I feel like Winky brings it up at the Quidditch World Cup where she says that like Dobby is asking for pay.
Dobby says he's traveled the country for 2 whole years trying to find work, which to me sounds like way too long, because it's way too long, because where he ends up is in the exact location where he was freed.
Also true. Also true. And it's such a haven for house elves.
It is a haven for house elves. Dumbledore watches it happen,
right,
and doesn't like do anything to help offer him a sanctuary, which even that seems strange for Dumbledore, because this is a house elf who has lived and worked in the employ of a known dark wizard in Lucius Malfoy.
Right. It seems like an obvious like person to then sort of have like inside of your camp physically. Yeah. The only thing I could think there is like Dumbledore doing some mental gymnastics on what the appropriate response would be, not knowing whether or not Dobby like would even accept pay.
Yeah.
But then maybe not wanting to be like, Dobby is free. And then Dumbledore would be like, but how free do you want to be?
But how free? You want some work, or you're looking for work?
You're looking for employment? It's like
I guess that's true.
He seemed pretty happy about the freedom thing.
Give him some breathing room. Yeah, right. I guess that's true. That's true.
He took a gap year, Jay.
Took a gap 2 years.
A gap 2 years.
Yeah. Come back when the story needed him again.
That's right. That's
What do you know? How convenient is that?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Let's see here. Hermione is very excited for Dobby, of course. And we do learn that Dobby had to do a little bit of negotiating with Dumbledore, which is always sort of an adorable scene. Professor Dumbledore says he will pay Dobby, sir, if Dobby wants paying. And so he gets a galleon a week and 1 day off a month. To which Hermione is like, well, that's not very
much. A whole lot.
Right. And then Dobby chimes in and is like, oh, not to worry, though. Professor Dumbledore offered Dobby 10 galleons a week and weekends off.
Yes.
This is one of those where like we can backtrack a little bit when we go over to like our is Hagrid rich theory.
Yes.
Because if like it's hard to know exactly how competitive 10 galleons a week is inside of the wizarding world, because at bare minimum, the most important object that you buy in your whole wizarding experience is a wand. And I want to say Harry's wand cost 7 galleons.
Yeah.
So it's like a pretty big deal. And like Ron's parents can't afford to get him like a new one other than like his hand-me-down.
Yeah.
Until they win the
lottery.
The lottery. Exactly. So like 10 galleons a week is 40 galleons a month.
It's 520 galleons a year.
Did you do that math? Do you have that? Oh, wait, no.
Well, it's just 10 galleons a week and there's 52 weeks in a year.
My bad.
So yeah.
I was trying to do 40 times 12 plus whatever the difference is. Anyway, so
yeah.
You're right. Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you for not letting me be a complete idiot on the internet. Let's see here. But yeah, so I mean, it seems like that's a reasonably high wage. And then when you apply that to Hagrid and assume he's been there for 50 years, because it's been 50 years since the last chamber has been opened, it's like he's been there long enough to where he's probably received several pay rises during that time.
And certainly he's got to be making more than you'd think the house elves,
who formerly were not paid at all.
Who, to be fair, are not paid at all. But if Dumbledore's willing to go up to 10 galleons per week on Dobby, then you'd still think that Hagrid's services to the school are greater than one house elves.
Yes. Yeah. No matter how important Dobby is to the overall story.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, but long story long, that's like our way of additionally reasoning that, like, Hagrid lives on campus. He doesn't seem to have any overhead. Like, all of his meals are seemingly included by being a professor. Like he might just be sitting on a tidy little
fortune.
Right.
Yes, and everything he collects is otherwise valuable, according to Slughorn. Not that he ever seems interested in like selling it or anything, but then the gifts he gives Harry are all like things that are all about security. Like he gives him the Mokeskin pouch, which is like only you can get the treasure from inside.
Right. Yes. Like a fanged wallet.
A fanged wallet to keep all of your valuable money in. Yes.
He also gives him an owl, which is additionally like one of those things that like Percy got for becoming a prefect.
Right.
So it's
Seems like an expensive gift.
Right.
He also gives him a fanged book, but that's less to do with money.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's more to do with his own class.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, big side story there on the 10 galleons a week note, but it's important.
Yep. Because this is one of the only like known salaries that we get. Because you'd have to also assume that Arthur makes way more than this.
You would have to assume.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
As a ministry employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No matter how much it's Muggle artifacts and where to find them.
Yes. Yeah. Muggle artifacts and where to find them. The Arthur Weasley story that we would all watch.
Yes. Exactly.
Yep.
Let's see here. So then, and how much was Professor Dumbledore paying you, Winky? Hermione asked kindly. Hermione missteps in this conversation so many times.
I know. It's like
she means so well
for how much she actually cares and how much the other two like don't about spew and stuff. She is the one putting her foot in her mouth over and over.
Yeah. And this makes Winky very upset. Winky is a disgraced elf, but Winky is not yet getting paid, she squeaked. Winky is not sunk so low as that. Winky is properly ashamed of being freed.
Oh God, the brainwashing is so deep.
It is very deep.
It is very bad.
Yes. I mean, you can only imagine. I mean, not even you can only imagine. It just simply is generational.
Yes.
It's like, this is the knowledge of like what we're literally going to learn is that not just her mother, but her grandmother also worked for the Crouches.
Yes.
Yeah. So it goes back very, very far.
Yes, it is. Let's see. They say, what do they say first? Hermione says, Mr. Crouch should be ashamed. No, you didn't do anything wrong. He was really horrible, and Winky cannot handle this at all. He says, you are not insulting my master, miss. You was not insulting Mr. Crouch. Mr. Crouch is a good wizard, miss. Mr. Crouch is right to sack a bad. She is defending her own, like, enslaver here.
I know. Yeah.
Because, like, Winky, please stop.
I love the little Dobby's little aside here. Winky is having trouble adjusting Harry Potter, squeaked Dobby confidentially.
I know.
And I just wrote in, like, you don't say.
Yeah, I was like, not sure you needed to be that confidential.
Right.
Sounds pretty loud and clear.
Right, yep. So we learn a little bit about like the rules of the house elves, that they're not allowed to, they can't speak their minds about their masters. And Dobby is sort of like, oh no, sir, 'tis part of the house elves' enslavement. We keep their secrets in our silence, sir. And then we learned that Dumbledore does not require this particular rule, in that he said that they are free to call him a barmy old codger if we like.
Trivia.
Which is trivia for sure. You've gotten this right so many times.
A barmy old codger.
And I get it wrong so many times.
It is a weird combination of words.
It is indeed.
But Dobby is not wanting to, Harry Potter.
Yes. Dobby's so,
I know. He's just like, let me reassure you, I never would.
Yeah, he's so sweet.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Dobby likes Professor Dumbledore very much so, and is proud to keep his secrets and all silence for him.
What secrets do you think he's keeping for Dumbledore?
That's a good question.
I know. You think Dumbledore's just like, listen, Dobby, now that I'm paying you, I got to tell you some stuff, man.
Yeah, pull up a drink.
You know what? I got some butterbeer down there. Like, Dobby doesn't drink, sir. You're kidding me.
Oh boy. boy.
Let me tell you a secret, Dobby. No one will drink with me.
And nobody seems to figure it out either.
No one can handle it. Anyway, then I love the way this whole next section is phrased. It says, but you can say what you like about the Malfoys now, Harry asked him, grinning. And it says, a slightly fearful look came onto Dobby's immense eyes. Dobby could, he said doubtfully.
As he squared his small shoulders, Dobby could tell Harry Potter that his old masters were bad dark wizards.
Yes. Oh, if only he'd said a little bit more here.
I know. But either way, he still rushes he rushes over to a table and starts banging his head on it.
Old habits die hard.
Right. Yep. And I do like that Harry says, you just need a bit of practice.
Yeah. Just come on, say more bad things about the Malfoys. Do it.
This will be fun.
Do it. Yeah. But let's see. Then Winky's not hearing it at all. She says, practice? You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Dobby, talking that way about your masters. And then, Dobby is like, they're not my masters anymore. Don't care what they think. Never did. Do kind of. I mean, I did almost just beat my head in. So
right. Yeah. I do have a little like go Dobby written there. I'm just proud of him for being defiant. I know. Standing up for himself.
Yep. Oh, do you have a picture?
No. Go right ahead. Yep.
Okay, let's see. And then Winky just continues to go on about Mr. Crouch says, my poor Mr. Crouch, what is he doing without Winky? He is needing me. He is needing my help. I was looking after the Crouches all my life, and my mother is doing it before me, my grandmother before her. So yeah, we find out this is like a generational thing. I was looking after the Crouches all my life. The plural there is interesting because as far as we've known Winky and Barty Crouch Sr. so far, it is just been him. He doesn't have a wife anymore, and as far as we know, doesn't have any kids. So the Crouch is I don't know if that's like a hint or anything that there has been multiple people she's been looking after the whole time.
That is a good point. That it's like a tiny little I don't even think it's a Freudian slip. I think it's just a slip.
Yeah,
because it suggests that that there has been more than one Crouch to be looking after, and you're right. It could just be a reference to the fact that this lineage of house elves have always looked after the Crouches, in a greater plurality.
In a greater sense, yeah.
But the fact that it says the Crouches, it's sort of there should only be one Crouch left in that house because the mother is supposedly dead, which we haven't learned that yet.
So we might just think that he has a wife. Is just off page.
Exactly, exactly. But with full context, we know that it should just be Barty Crouch Sr.
Right.
Yeah.
But in actuality, it has been a Barty Crouch Sr. and Jr.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Good catch on that front.
Yep. And then Hermione sticks her foot right back in her mouth, says, Winky, I'm sure Mr. Crouch is getting on perfectly well without you, which is just no tact at all, Hermione. Come on.
Seriously, I was like, wow, Hermione, just insult her next time.
Read the room. Hermione's normally so good at this stuff, and it's hilarious how bad she is at this.
I know. It's she's trying so hard to be the one to stand up for them and is failing miserably in the process of connecting with them. She has her beliefs all in the right places. But,
yes.
Let's see here. So then Winky discovers that Mr. Bagman is coming I'm sorry, not Mr. Bagman. I do this every time. I'm so sorry about that. Let's see here. So Winky discovers that Mr. Crouch and Mr. Bagman are judges in the Triwizard Tournament. And then Winky says, Mr. Bagman comes too. Mr. Bagman is a bad wizard, a very bad wizard. My master isn't liking him at all. Oh no, not at all. And that, goodness gracious, that feels like words spoken from an innocent mind, where it's this is not somebody who has a horse in the overall greater dark wizard race. Right. So for her to describe him this way, it seems more almost certainly Ludo is in fact a bad person. We're just not seeing it somehow.
Right. This is such big red herring energy too, because it's just her straight up saying Mr. Bagman is a bad wizard, a very bad wizard. It's hard to know, because there is a point where when you see in the trials and the pensive that Barty Crouch Sr. says, or something like him, a job at the ministry, or it'll be whatever. It basically says it'll never happen that Ludo Bagman will work, alongside him at the ministry, which is, funny in the context of seeing it because, fast forward that they've worked on 2 huge projects together in the past year.
Just the past year alone. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And it's Ludo is there on trial for the number one thing that Senior is fully all about enforcing.
Yes.
And it's like, even if Ludo did it, like the reason he's on trial is because he like accidentally like leaked information.
Yeah.
But it's like he genuinely accidentally leaked information. But from Senior's perspective, it's like, where is your diligence?
I know. It's really surprising too, because like Winky is saying that like right now here in the present, and she's only been fired for like a few months, which makes it, and all of that happened 14 years ago, which makes it seem like Barty Crouch Sr., even in the present, doesn't really like Ludo that much, at least in the comforts of his own home.
At least in the comforts of his own home. And I mean, it's like, everybody complains about work, I guess, is sort of like an adage.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like it's at least somewhat on display that like they're very different at like the Quidditch World Cup.
Absolutely,
like,
it is.
Ludo's sprawled out on the ground in like his Quidditch robes, and Barty Crouch Sr. shows up and he's like all well dressed and
Yeah. I mean, this this feels like a very unfair sentence if you're the reader. Like it's so misleading. So I'm trying to like think like to me, the reason, like, would Winky even say this? Like, if they're working together now, like, why does this make sense? Like, but I think here's what I think is happening. Kind of like the more you learn about like how like Creature adopted all of his beliefs from the blacks and stuff like that, is that once upon a time, 14 years ago, Ludo Bagman was on trial and Barty Crouch Sr. came home and was just complaining that he got off and that everyone on the jury just liked him because he played Quidditch. He's clearly a dark wizard or whatever.
Right.
Like, very unhappy with today's trials. Didn't hear about him again until Bagman gets hired, and then they're having to work on these projects together. Ludo's clearly bad at his job.
Right.
Even if he's still head of department. So Mr. Crouch is having to pick up all of his slack. And now he's just complaining generally about him as a coworker, because it seems like, I think he has like forgiven him, at least on that front, because he's even working with Karkaroff, and it's like Karkaroff was a convicted Death Eater.
True.
But he's working with him. It's like maybe that's because he doesn't have any other choice. But like he is still working with Ludo Bagman anyway. So I think he just goes, I think at one point he was complaining that he was a dark wizard. Fast forward after a gap of time, and now it's just complaining that he's an incompetent wizard.
Right.
But to Winky, it all sounds the same.
Right.
So to her, she's like, Ludo Bagman, all I've ever heard, dark wizard, bad wizard.
Exactly.
And that's what she's spitting out now.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. I totally agree with you. And I think that's basically the size of it. And it's probably the type of thing where it's like, she doesn't really have any major reason, if her life exists inside of the Crouch household for the most part. She probably doesn't even have that much of a reason to think anything other than just completely marching in line with whatever her master's belief system is. Yeah. So anyway, let's see here. So Winky is dissolving yet again into tears, sobbing into her skirt. Poor master, no Winky to help him no more. They couldn't get another sensible word out of her, so they left her to her crying and finished her tea while Dobby chatted happily about his life as a free elf and his plan for his wages. Dobby is going to buy a sweater next, Harry Potter, he said happily, pointing at his bare chest.
There you go. I like that he got a tie first,
Exactly. I mean, you got to go right. Order of operations are very important when it comes to getting dressed. Ron then offers him the one that Molly will send him for Christmas this year, and kind of like preemptively, and Dobby's just super excited about it. But that's good setup for the Wheezy.
Yes.
So later on, Dobby is going to come to Harry before the second task and be like, they took Harry Potter's Wheezy, sir.
Yes.
So this is establishing like a relationship between Dobby and Ron that is positive, if not maybe like totally formal or in depth.
It also sets up Dobby showing up at Christmas to give Harry the socks, which Moody will then see at the Yule Ball and ask him about the socks, and he'll say, Dobby, the house elf gave them to me, which is how Moody will know to stage a conversation in front of Dobby so that Dobby will give Harry the gillyweed.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of setup happening in this one little thing about sweaters.
Exactly. Yes. What otherwise seems like a kind of like unimportant, just sort of like fun exchange.
Yeah.
So then Harry and Ron leave the kitchens with their pockets loaded with cream cakes and pies.
Yeah. I'll go back one more time.
Okay.
I think it's funny too that like Ron keeps like complaining about spew, but in this situation, he is treating Dobby and the house elves so much better than Hermione.
It's true. Well, yes, yeah. At least based on how they want to be treated.
How they want to be treated.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But you're absolutely right. Like like Hermione's going in and having every misstep imaginable, while Ron is just like jiving.
Yeah, this is great.
These people are cool.
Got it. Yeah, he's out there. He's like, I love house elves. Yeah,
right. Which we know in the end, Ron does love house elves because in Deathly Hallows, it's like he like thinks of them, and that's like the moment with him and Hermione. He's like, no, we got to get them out of here.
Yeah. This is the kind of I wonder if to Hermione, this is like very obvious to her. And it's like, this is why she feels like she needs Harry and Ron. It's like, you'd be such good allies if you would just understand my cause.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But unfortunately,
they get there. They get there in the end.
They do.
Yes, they do. Thank goodness.
Let's see here. I love this ask of Dobby. Harry Potter, can Dobby come and see you sometime, sir? Of course you can. I said Dobby, and Dobby beamed.
I love it anytime anyone's beaming at anybody in Harry Potter.
Yes,
so it's just like, they're always so proud. Love it. Let's see. And then Ron comes to the conclusion and says, all these years I've been really impressed with Fred and George nicking food from the kitchens. That's not exactly difficult. They can't wait to give it away. All about perception, isn't it, Ron?
It really is.
Yeah, these guys are good salespeople. They're like, oh yeah, we're down there nicking food. You gotta sneak in, get around the elves. You know? Yeah.
Yes.
Good at marketing themselves, which they are in real life too.
Yes, indeed. Let's see here. But Hermione is hopeful that like Dobby coming to work here will show the other elves how happy he is and that being free, and slowly it'll dawn on them that they want that too. Yeah. Which I do think that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you do need someone in there to kind of show the other side of things.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yep. And then this is where we get, let's see, Ron says he'd still rather work for Crouch than Bagman, at least. Or he'd still rather work for Bagman rather than Crouch, because at least Bagman's got a sense of humor. And this is where Hermione says, don't let Percy hear you saying that. And Ron again just can take another jab at Percy. Says, yeah, well, Percy wouldn't want to work for anyone with a sense of humor, would he? Percy wouldn't recognize a joke if it danced naked in front of him wearing Dobby's tea cozy. Which is a great way to end the chapter, I think. But it is the second time in a row where like jokes about Percy have been a little bit like prophetic in some way, in that before it was like, oh, sounds like Percy singing in the shower, and it's like, actually it is someone singing underwater, so that's accurate.
So not terribly far off. Yeah.
And it says Percy wouldn't recognize a joke if it danced naked in front of him wearing Dobby's tea cozy, and it's like, well, he probably wouldn't. But what's ironic about it is that Percy is failing to recognize that his boss has had the Imperious curse cast on him right in front of him.
Yes, you're exactly right. Yep, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
this one's also kind of like it's sort of like impactful when you jump forward to like Fred's eventual death in Deathly Hallows.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like everybody always sort of like has this perception that like Percy doesn't really like understand a joke and stuff like that. And it's literally the last thing that Fred says is like, you're joking, Percy.
Yeah.
And then he dies. And so it's just like, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like Percy finally figured it out.
Finally got a joke. Yeah.
Right? Oh no. Anyway, but that does bring us to the end of chapter 21. Jay, do you have a review for us?
Well, I sure do, Ben. Let me pull it up here. Today's review is going to come from Red Panda Patronus. It's a good one.
Did we assign a Red Panda Patronus to somebody?
Did we? I don't know if we did.
I don't know if we did either. All right, let me the question.
Okay, they say, hey, brother, it's been great to revisit the Wizarding World with this podcast. I really appreciate the friendly, lighthearted discussion and the silliness of the fan theories, especially in recent episodes covering the Goblet of Fire. Yes, thank you so much.
I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like when we started this project, we were so serious. I don't even know if we were serious, but I do feel like we've gotten sillier as time has gone on.
I mean, the show takes on a life of its own. It's got its own personality.
It does. I mean, there was nothing we could do about it.
Nothing you could do about it. I mean, when you discover that Hogwarts is a dragon, you just have to, that's just it now,
Basilisks have laser vision.
Basilisks have laser vision. Like, exactly. All right. Spoilers below, I guess, if you haven't read all of the books. Here's a question for you. What if Karkaroff was responsible for putting Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire instead of Barty Crouch Jr.? Would the tournament play out differently? Would Voldemort be willing to forgive Karkaroff? Would Harry get coached by the real Mad-Eye Moody if Barty simply never leaves Azkaban? Would love to hear your take on this what if.
Dang, what a really interesting question, because it really is like the redemption. It's not really a redemption arc for Barty Crouch Jr., but it is a great way for him to showcase like his loyalty to the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, to the extent to which, like Voldemort, I believe at the end of this book will regard him as like his most trusted follower.
Yeah. I mean, he pretty much will. I think I liked this question because so often, whenever we do the what ifs, a lot of them have to do like, what if Wormtail, got caught, or what if Sirius killed Peter,
right?
Or what if Sirius just told Harry everything at the night bus or whatever,
right?
And in some way prevents Sirius from escaping that night.
Okay.
And our usual answer to that is that like prophecy must prophecy. And so instead of Wormtail escaping, it's the other obvious person is Barty Crouch Jr., who's also escaped from Azkaban.
Correct.
And then he's normally the one who then is able to escape because either he hears about Peter Pettigrew getting captured or whatever.
Right.
And he reunites with Voldemort. But it has occurred to me before, like, if we didn't have, like, I read this one, I was like, okay. But if Wormtail didn't escape and Barty Crouch Jr. had died, then what would happen? Then how would prophecy?
Ooh, okay.
Right. So I guess maybe not die if he's not smuggled out of prison or whatever.
Sure.
Right. So he's still just in prison.
And therefore unable to return.
But available as a Death Eater should anyone ever like cause a mass breakout or something.
Which does happen eventually. Yeah.
But at that point, you'd have Karkaroff, who would have a really similar situation to Peter, at least in terms of like, he named names, so everyone's going to hate him.
Yep.
But if he can return and help get Voldemort back to power, he'll have at least some kind of protection in that sense.
And I mean, it would stand to reason that like the distance that we are operating with from the Triwizard Tournament as of Trelawney's prediction in Prisoner of Azkaban, surely meetings and gatherings about preparing for the Triwizard Tournament have already been well underway. Like Karkaroff even makes it sound like when the names come out of the Goblet of Fire, it's like months of conversations and, like all these meetings. Like I thought we were all on the same page about how this was going to work. So like, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assert that Karkaroff was going to know that he would have ready access to Harry Potter at Hogwarts, where the Triwizard Tournament was going to be taking place. Like, it's not hard at all to slot this in, because if anything, it's way more complicated for how Barty Crouch Jr. ends up getting roped in, which is, through Bertha Jorkins going to the Crouch family and, like then her traveling to Albania where she happens upon Wormtail, and then they're able to like weasel information. Like, if anything, the actual narrative is super sloppy.
Yeah. You could even, I suppose, assume like that could Sirius breaking out of Azkaban still be the prompt for him? Like, because he's afraid of the Death Eaters he sent to Azkaban. So if like Sirius breaks out, he might suddenly be afraid that Sirius would come after him as a Death Eater who named names, because he thinks Sirius is the Death Eater.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And so Sirius, as far as he's concerned, would have been a Death Eater who's in prison with a whole bunch of other Death Eaters who are there because Karkaroff named names. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I can see that.
That makes sense. I mean, that's not what happens, but if prophecy is going to prophecy.
Right. Then. And when we say that, what we mean is that Professor Trelawney gives the prediction that the servant will return to the master, to Harry, on like one early summer's day at the end of his third year.
Right.
And on that particular evening is the evening with the full moon and the werewolf, and, Wormtail is discovered, and the hippogriff, Buckbeak, like all of that stuff is happening.
Yeah.
So what we would say is the rule about prophecies is that on that same day, the same prophecy would be made. And somehow, some way, it would send out like a sound wave through space and time that would alert actions.
That would something about the way that night will go down will prompt a Death Eater to return to Voldemort.
Right.
Yes. So I think. So I'm trying to think. Yeah. So let's see if we have to assume Peter doesn't make it back. So I don't know. Sirius kill. Okay, that would be it. That could be it. Sirius kills Peter.
Sirius kills Peter. And that news gets out quickly. Yep.
And then to Karkaroff, it looks like, oh no.
Right.
Sirius Black is on the loose and he's not trying to rejoin Voldemort. He's just hunting down Death Eaters.
Right.
And then he's like, I need protection.
Right.
So I'm going to go try and find Voldemort.
Yep.
Boom. Nailed it.
Dang.
Got it.
How about that?
We got it. That's interesting. It's still Sirius. And it's still connected. It still makes sense.
It still makes sense. I mean, if anything, it exists with the existing motives of Sirius. He broke out to kill Peter.
Yes.
Like to suggest, like, basically the what if then is what if Sirius had just killed Peter?
Yeah. What if Sirius had killed Peter and Barty Crouch Jr. hadn't been smuggled out?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess he could have been smuggled out and this wouldn't matter, I guess. Our usual, the way we've normally done it is that, like, whatever, Peter is revealed and the news that Peter is, like, captured or whatever, like, gets to the Crouch household and he hears about it and he's so upset that that's what, like, causes him to break free or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I like this. And then the question would be, would Karkaroff be accepted back into Voldemort's good graces? And I think so.
Oh, I mean, as much as Peter is.
As much as Peter is, yeah. Which is to say, not highly.
Not highly, but he's probably the one with the silver hand.
Right.
Then at the end of it all.
I made a video last week that was talking about Snape playing Quidditch, and there was sort of like a commentary about how, like, Wormtail does so much, and he does get the silver hand, to be fair, but he is not elevated position-wise amongst Voldemort's ranks.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I guess that would be the question is does Karkaroff manage to, like, weasel his way any higher than Peter did?
I mean, it feels like, boy, the other Death Eaters are going to be so mad at him, for sending them to Azkaban.
And the people he made mad are the most erratic ones.
Yeah.
Bellatrix and
does he name them?
Doesn't Karkaroff name Bellatrix and Rodolphus and Rabastin?
I don't know if he does. We can try and skip ahead, I suppose. Hold on. Maybe. The pensive. Bam. Yes, Barks Crouch.
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe
he names like 5 names. He says Anton and Anton and Dollhoff's not one of them. Sorry.
Okay.
You had some names for us. Okay, he says Anton and Dollhoff is one. He mentions Rosier. He says Snape. No more than Rosier deserved. Who else does he mention here? Travers, Mulciber.
Okay.
Yeah, and Rookwood is who he eventually gets pay dirt with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Pay dirt. Nice. Good use of pay dirt.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, you're right. So it's not Bellatrix and company.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
That's like a movie thing where he names Barty Crouch Jr. too.
Okay.
As a way to, like, sum it all up in one trial.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Either which way though, that's enough Death Eaters that this does not look good for you.
It does not look good. Yeah. They definitely at least get one new person behind bars.
That's right. Yeah, there we go. All right, guys, as per always, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Make sure you leave a like on this if you haven't. Please leave us a review. Maybe we'll get to one of your questions as well. But otherwise, make sure you join us next week for Chapter 22, The Unexpected Task, here on Through the Griffin Door.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.